Hi, this is Dana Arcuri, author, speaker, survivor, and advocate, and today's topic is you are worth fighting for. And so after reading just hundreds and hundreds of comments, and on my YouTube channel, I get a lot of comments, a lot of people who are sharing their true stories with me, especially those who have dealt with child abuse, narcissistic abuse, sexual assaults, toxic siblings, family dysfunction, and on it goes. And while I read all of your comments, oftentimes my heart hurts just so much for you. And over this past day, after really thinking about all of these comments, all of your stories, so many people have so much in common with me and with my situation with my toxic birth family and the different things I have gone through with child abuse, sexual assault, narcissistic abuse, the flying monkeys creating a three-ring circus, and all the bullying that goes on in a dysfunctional family. I'm coming to see that we have a lot more in common than not in common. And so while I started really thinking about all of your stories and everything that so many of you have written to me, and I wanted to just have a video dedicated to you. I wanted to have a video to let you know that you are worth fighting for. And there's a lot of things I'd like to bring up. There's about 12 points that I believe are really important because it's a lot to do with you and your past and anything you have dealt with in a dysfunctional, toxic family unit. Or for you, it might be even a marriage that went south, and it may have been that you were married with someone who was quite narcissistic, or you had family members who were quite unhealthy, unstable, and extremely traumatizing to you. And so keeping that in mind, here are many things I want to bring up, but I'm trying to keep it short to 12 points, and then we'll try to tie it up with a wonderful, inspiring quote. So number one, I want to bring up that there was psychological invalidation that took place with most of you. As you share your stories, as you really honestly and very authentically speak about what has taken place in your family or in a past relationship, it may have been for some of you just a single relationship. It could have been a toxic sibling. For others of you, there's countless broken relationships that you have experienced. So keep in mind that everyone does have a different experience, but a lot of us still have a lot in common, meaning we all understand the past trauma, the past abuse, the toxic dysfunctional relationships that hurt us. So in this experience, we have experienced this emotional and psychological invalidation. Now, here's what it means. It means that our feelings, our thoughts, and our life and the abuse that we suffered was not validated. So we did not feel safe in this very unhealthy environment, and we were never, ever validated. Number two is we had a lack of support. And for those who have been through so much turmoil, so much loss, so much grief, many of you chose to go no contact because it was the only way you could salvage your sanity, your peace of mind, and your health, and to have a new beginning. So I give all of you who did start over, I give you so much credit for having the strength and the courage to do so. And for those of you who may not have reached that point, maybe you're gray rocking, maybe you have limited contact for whatever reason, and I understand, believe me, there are some people who have many, many logical and legitimate reasons for staying in contact. For some people, they did mention there's a religious reason. For other people, it's more cultural, your upbringing, how you were raised, and so forth. But understand that everyone has a desire and a legitimate need to receive support. And oftentimes, none of us received it ever. We were not supported and we were invalidated. And that is why it could be very hurtful. Number 3 is you have been silenced for year after year, decade after decade. It's been going on for so long. It could be even something generational within the different past families that you are related to. And that after each family unit had at least one person who was the scapegoat, at least one person who was like the black sheep of the family, they were abused and they were told to be quiet. They were hushed. They were silenced at all costs. You know, it may have been this unspoken code of silence, but you knew that if you spoke up, you would end up in trouble, that you would be punished for it, probably abused a lot worse. It would be more fierce, you know, corporal punishment for using your voice. And so as a child, I really believe as children, the reason a lot of us did not speak up, even as a teenager, why we did not speak up is because we were in survival mode. You know, oftentimes survival mode is you're just trying to stay afloat. You're trying to keep breathing. You're trying to maintain survival. And at any cost, you will have to do whatever it takes to keep on keeping on. And so for plenty of us, we just never spilled the beans on the family secrets when we were children or teenagers because we were in survival mode. It was part of the fight, flight, or flee. For some, it's called fawning. Fawning is really, it reminds me a lot of like a narcissistic mother or a narcissistic father. Someone in the family unit's very narcissistic. And so fawning is when you have no choice but to obey those in authority. And typically it is a parent, but in other cases, it could be a grandparent, it could be a teacher, it could be a pastor of a church, it could be someone else who's in some form of authority, and they are abusing you, and you are keeping silent because they have this very domineering persona. They may be extremely aggressive and quite lethal in how they respond to you if you would speak about any form of abuse. Next is that you have been accused of everything imaginable, every transgression you can even imagine. You've been told that you are the problem and that it's your fault. And so when we keep hearing this, you know, year after year, decade after decade, it gets so ingrained and brainwashed into us that we reach a point where we stop fighting for ourselves. We just kind of lay low. We become very cooperative, especially to those authorities who are toxic and abusive towards us. Number 5 is you were discarded like trash, and it can sting really bad. And so a lot of you talk to me about how you were discarded from at least one or more people. It may have been your entire family of origin. For others, it might have just been one person, such as the narcissist. But for everyone, again, our situations may be slightly different, but keep in mind that being discarded, whether it's by the toxic siblings, by the mother, by the father, by the grandparents, by the entire family unit, or even by someone you were married to, it hurts. It hurts really, really bad. And so we can understand that when someone discards us, what is that saying? What is it showing? You have no value. You have no importance. They're basically saying, I don't care about you. You are meaningless. I have no love for you anymore. I have nothing that I want to give to you. I don't want to support you. And so when people discard us, they're basically washing their hands of us, whoop, throw us in the trash, and they carry on like it was nothing, like we are nothing. And this is extremely cruel, and yet it happens so frequently in toxic families. Next is number 6. And that is, the reality is that nobody took the time to inquire with you about how you felt, about things that were going on, especially within your family or your marriage. For some people, it even could be something job related. There could have been narcissistic abuse happening at work. So for everyone, again, it's different. But the bottom line is that nobody took the time to ask you, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? I notice you're no longer coming to meetings. You're no longer coming to family functions. You're no longer participating with these gatherings. And so, hey, what's happening? How are you doing? How can I help you? How can I pray for you? Do you want to talk to me? I'm concerned about you. No, nobody showed concern for us. Nobody gave a hoot one way or the other, whether we showed up or we didn't show up. They did not care. And so the reality is that nobody took the time to even show empathy, show sympathy, show compassion, and to talk to us and clearly communicate with us what was going on behind closed doors. Number 7 is, no matter how many times you may have in the past confronted one or more abusers, it went on to deaf ears. Even the flying monkeys have been blind, and they don't see the truth, and they're deaf to reality. So the flying monkeys actually will go to great lengths to take sides with the narcissist, with the abuser. Even if they know the truth, they're going to deny it. They're going to say, you are a liar. You're not telling the truth. So they're going to twist everything. They're going to turn everything upside down, and therefore whatever was right becomes wrong, and whatever was wrong is somehow twisted into right. And so this is how they carry on, trying to justify their negative behaviors and lack of supporting you, and lack of siding with you, and lack of validating that you're the one who's right. They don't want to admit it. See, they will go to the grave before they ever admit that you are right and they are wrong. They will take it to the grave. And therefore, we cannot change them. We cannot force them to side with us, to see our side. We can't expect them to reflect on themselves and to take any kind of responsibility, and to try to put themselves in our shoes. Because, do you understand, someone who's a flying monkey, someone who's a narcissist, or someone who's extremely toxic and abusive, they are so low. Their standards, their beliefs, their lifestyle, and everything about them is never for putting themselves in someone else's shoes, because they don't care. They don't care. Next would be, psychologically abusive people intentionally hurt you. And this led to your feeling unimportant, unloved, and not worthy. Oftentimes, we may have not even attempted to advocate for ourselves. In the past, we may not have even tried to even defend ourselves or protect ourselves, because we were told over and over and over that it was us, that something was wrong with us. They constantly were victim blaming, and then they'd turn around and then they'd try to use the victim card and act like, oh, they're the victim. Oh, they're the victim. It's amazing how delusional toxic people are. And sometimes they're so psychologically deranged, they can't even think straight or understand their own reality. Number 9 is, others dictated in your past how you should feel, what you should want, what you should not want. They claimed that you were just too sensitive. They said that you're too dramatic. They might have called you a drama queen. They may have said that you should not feel that way. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. And it's very degrading and cruel for people to tell us these nasty things. They're not, number one, it's not a fact. It's not a fact. Number two, yes, it is fiction. And number three, it's extremely degrading and, again, harmful to us. And over, invalidation. And that is a big part of our past. Number 12 is other ways that toxic people invalidated you was by saying, it wasn't that bad. Or they said, oh, just let it go. They may have said, man up. So if you're a man, you may have been told, oh, you need to have thicker skin. Oh, you need to man up. Other people were told, stop making a big deal out of what happened. And so if you were physically abused, sexually abused, mentally abused, and bullied, and just beaten down year after year after year, it just goes on. And you're told, oh, you're making such a big deal out of it. Other times they'll say, get over it. Or they will say, oh, stop making a fuss about something so minimal. Yeah. So these are their little go-to tactics. This is something they do during their retaliation, during the manipulation, the gaslighting, and the smear campaigns. It's very, very common that we are repeatedly told, oh, you're just so sensitive, and oh, you're making such a big deal over nothing. Number 11 is all of these statements that I just spoke about are actually denying your experience of being abused, of being neglected, of being traumatized. So, all of those 10 statements are basically just denying your experience. It is, again, more re-traumatizing because over and over and over again, you're told, no, that didn't happen. No, that's your imagination. No, you're just a drama queen. And when we keep hearing this year after year, sometimes we just shut down. Emotionally, psychologically, we may just stay quiet. We may shut down. We might not fight back. We might not advocate for ourselves or seek any kind of help or any kind of solutions. There's a lot of confusion. And it could go on for a long time until we finally muster up the courage to say, no, I'm not going to have you be the author of my life. You cannot dictate to me my reality. You cannot dictate to me what is right or what is wrong when I already know the truth. You can't dictate to me some false accusation and expect me to just swallow it like that is the Bible, like it's some truth when it's not. And so a lot of times there's a lot of distorted facts. There could be a shred of truth somewhere in the mix of what these toxic people are trying to accuse you of or say, very, very tiny shred of truth somewhere. But most of the time, there's a lot of the denial. There's a lot of the deception, a lot of the dysfunction, and a lot of invalidation over and over. So the bottom line is that narcissists, flying monkeys, toxic people, abusive people don't take responsibility for their own words, actions, and behaviors. So there is no accountability on their part. I think that is another reason why it can sting so badly, is that they're never accountable. They're never responsible. They never speak the truth. They are not authentic, genuine, caring, compassionate people. And we clearly see this. We know this. We understand this. It's our reality. But there's so many other people. There could be other relatives or other friends, family, neighbors, people in the community that are in the dark about it. And they're kind of going on the bandwagon with the narcissist. And then they start shaming us and blaming us. And then again, it just keeps going and going and going, where it just becomes extremely unproductive. An inspiring quote by a woman named Christine Osana, who is the author of the book Safe Passage to Healing, has a quote, and while it is a bit long, really important quote. I think this quote really sums up what I want to say to you today, because you are so worth fighting for. And so here's her quote, and I hope it does encourage you. She says, Violators cannot live with the truth. Survivors cannot live without it. There are those who still, once again, are poised to invalidate and deny us. If we don't assert our truth, it may again be relegated to fantasy. But the truth won't go away. It will keep surfacing until it is recognized. Truth will outlast any campaigns mounted against it. No matter how mighty, clever, and long, it is invincible. It is only a matter of which generation is willing to face it, and in doing so, protect future generations from ritual abuse. And again, this is Christine Osana from Safe Passage to Healing, which is an inspiring book that you may want to look into. I could always put the resources down below for you. Now, I think that this quote, other than being extremely inspiring, I think it's profound. I think, that first sentence she said was so spot on. She says, violators cannot live with the truth. Survivors cannot live without it. And I just think that is so on point, and I totally relate to it. I think this entire quote, while it is lengthy, it's extremely empowering, and I love it. Next, I want to encourage you today to continue to speak the truth, to walk in the truth, to understand that truth will lead you to freedom. It will lead you to that healing path. Today, I want you to understand that I validate what you have suffered, including the unspeakable abuse and trauma. Next, my precious friends, your life matters. Your story matters. You matter to me. You are here for a higher purpose. Trust that your past pain can be used as an uplifting message to others. And oftentimes when we're brave enough to speak up and share our own story, it really does help other people, especially those who have had a similar experience to you. Please understand that you are cherished, that no matter what anyone has ever said to you, no matter what dirty, rotten lies they have told you, please know that you are eternally significant and that your life is most certainly worth fighting for. And so I'm going to end with a few positive affirmations today to give you encouragement and hope as you continue your healing journey. And so number one, I embrace the truth. Number two, when I advocate for myself, I am empowered. Number three, I am worthy, I am enough, I am valuable. And last, I am grateful for how far I have come and how far I am heading on my healing journey. And so today, share with me, have you been advocating for yourself? Have you been fighting for yourself? Have you been doing everything you can to practice self-care and healthy boundaries and to really promote recovery and peace of mind? I'd love to hear your stories and understand today, I am fighting for you, my friends. I am fighting for you because you matter. God bless and take care.